Good morning, my friends. As has been the case a few times throughout the past couple weeks, I am awakened at 3 o'clock in the morning or 3:30, and there are things that I need to be sharing, and God continues to speak to me and let me know that it's time. It's time to share these things. I can't help but create all the time. I can't help but make breakthroughs and connections constantly. And that's how I know that I am in my specific stage of my awakening journey. Beyond fear, beyond man made constructs, beyond um, the attempted control by others, including those who are generally good people, but who are still very heavily under the mind control of fear and ego. All right, today's topic is going to be, and a little child shall lead them. Um, I apologize for this one little broken blind here. That might be a little distracting. I may get better lighting in the future and a place to actually do videos, but for now, bear with me as I figure out the best way to do this. I'm used to meditating and receiving information while in movement. I am someone who is very genetically predisposed to acting, to doing something in order to focus more and focus better on what I am speaking on and things like that. So this is something that I need to change, I suppose, so that I can sit still and do these videos. All right. I began my waking up journey 8 years ago. And this is where I began deep soul diving to understand what on earth my purpose was. Because I was in such a state of, I felt like I was sleepwalking through life. I felt like I was asleep and also very miserable and exhausted, caretaking all the time. That is a role that I both put myself in and that I was put into from a very young age. And I took that on from a view of, or a perception of, my job here is to be a servant to everyone else. And as you can imagine, this brought on walls of exhaustion that were so overwhelming at times that I wanted to end my life. So at a certain point, my soul cried out and said, there has got to be more to life than this. This is not what I came for, to relive this loop of what feels like hell. There's got to be more to life than this. And from what I had been taught through church and things like that, apparently this is perfectly normal to have the view that my job is just to endure. And then once I die, then I can rest. Somehow that was conveyed to me in a way that, and I'm sure through the DNA programming, through generations of survival and trauma as well. And so when I began my healing journey, I was drawn toward people who, from an ego perspective and from my programming, seemed like out of the slums in a way. People who could be viewed as crazy, people who could be viewed as not successful by the world's standards. And yet I sensed in them, from a spiritual mindset, that they had the deepest wisdom, the most inner peace, and the greatest freedom from within. And I was magnetically pulled toward these kind of people. And one of these such people would be my then husband's cousin. And she was able to guide me through some things as I awakened to my awful state. One of these things was that she taught me how to self soothe in my 30s for the first time. When I was overwhelmed with screaming toddlers and with so much of heavy burden of responsibility to raise many little children on my own pretty well, then she drew me to close my eyes, to tap in to what I was feeling, what I was hearing, what I was sensing. And I realized that I was perceiving things from the view of a 1 year old who was crying in the back of my mind, crying, 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 so overwhelmed, so in pain. And she said, "Okay, Rachel, now imagine yourself as the nurturing mother that you are and pick up that little 1 year old and go rock her in a rocking chair in your mind and tell her it's okay. I'm here now for you. You're safe, you're loved, you're wanted." And so I began doing that. And almost immediately, that little toddler self, my inner child, began calming down. And my own crying toddler didn't become a catalyst for a trigger to my deepest trauma wounding. And I began to heal. Okay, so that was good up until a certain point. And then there was a further step that I needed to take in order to continue healing those parts of me that were not yet healed, not yet whole. And this is it. This may be a much more incomprehensive thing. What I'm learning is that because of the level of um, awakening that I am, that many people, when I share connections and things like that, they dismiss it and say, "Oh, that's nothing. She's delusional." But as you watch my videos, and in particular the one that I posted most recently before this one, look at my physical transformation, and you will be able to see evidence of how I have transformed. And the evidence from the way that I present myself, the way that I carry myself, the way that I handle difficulties in life. I have an inner knowing of who I am, an inner peace that is beyond this world. So I'm going to explain this next level of inner healing, healing the trauma, transmuting it, because I think some of you out there may be ready for it. I recognized at one point that through a process of revealing, that my most intense trauma was at 14 months old. And so, because of a series of events that happened in my life to do with my little daughter who came awake in spirit and has never since fallen asleep and has been teaching me from the age of 2 the things of heaven that I could not comprehend while they were flowing through her and out of her mouth. Because of her and because of all the things that she has helped invoke and bring to light, I realized at one point that my little 14-month-old self still felt helpless when certain things happened or when I was triggered in specific ways. And so I realized that what we need to do is sit and think upon the child ourselves before the trauma. So for me, that was my 14-month-old self before the biggest trauma happened that impacted all of my life in reliving this hell for so many years. Take the child before the trauma and bring the child forward and say, you, in your most untraumatized, most pure and empowered form, get to come to the forefront of my life and you get to lead. This brings the child from a state of helplessness to a state of empowerment. And that is the key to healing and dissolving the effects of trauma. When I figured out this powerful resource and key, I immediately felt an overwhelming sense of joy and freedom to a level that I had not yet experienced. Interestingly, through beauty school, as I had been working with clients for a while, I had tapped into intuitively to bring people in their mind's eye to one woman in particular. And I think I've talked about this on another YouTube video, so I won't go too much into it, but just bringing her back to the womb to reconnect with her own body and then to reconnect to her mother who gave her life so that her inner child could begin healing. So this is only one aspect of "and a little child shall lead them." Another aspect is that these children that are being born nowadays, those who are from babyhood to teenagehood, are the generation that will usher in the change and the healing that we need in our world, and the balance that has been taken will be restored if we can quiet our put our egos on the back burner, basically quiet our minds, which are full of programming, centuries old programming that is not balanced and that is not whole and that is not conducive to our peace at this point in Earth's history, and observe them, listen to what they're saying. They are the ones who whose souls override any programming, any trauma that is written in our DNA. They override this because their souls are so extremely powerful in knowing what they came here for. So our little ones are drawing pictures, are making art pieces. They are speaking words that are incomprehensible to our ego. And they are being the light and the beacon that we need in their raw form in order to start unlearning the things that we are so certain of, that we think are constructing our entire identity, but it is not true. My most awake children came and seemed to be nothing but destructive force. In hindsight, I'm seeing that they came to wake up our entire family to the awful reality of the corrupt systems that are running our world at this point, so that we could become aware and begin changing things for better in a conscious state. So I hope something in this video helps someone to reiterate the message, "and a little child shall lead them," bringing forward your most pure and powerful child self to the forefront and saying, okay, I'm going to start listening to you. Okay. And secondly, observing the children that are coming now, because in soul, they know more than any of us why they are here. And that overrides the programming, which is something that most of us can't just do because the programming is that powerful at this point. There is a third aspect to "and a little child shall lead them" that I want to share quickly because I don't want to go too long. Through my own experiences and through piecing together puzzle pieces over time, as the universe has made me aware of things as they are. Um, our brain represents the father energy. Our brain is something that needs to have things in order to be okay. Our heart is the mother energy, living from a place of creativity, of intuition, of nurturing, of compassion. This is the mother essence. And our physical body represents the Holy Child or the child. How does this correlate to "and a little child shall lead them"? Well, our bodies tell us really quickly when things are out of whack or misaligned. Our bodies witness where there is stuck energy, and that is where illness happens. And so, the more that we can tune into our physical bodies and what their needs are from moment to moment, the more we can learn to intuitively eat, to drink water when we're thirsty, to rest when we need rest, to take care of our bodies when they're crying out to be paid attention to. Our bodies will scream louder and louder, just as our little children do when they are starving for some nurturing, some attention. Um, they will misbehave, they will not work for us. And so we must begin to attune to our body's simple needs. Again, I hope this helps someone, and I pray that the right audience will begin being attracted to my videos. I can't help but sharing these messages. They are constantly flowing through and out of me. And I know for a fact that we are made to be creators and not just survivors. We are made to change the world, not to be victims of its circumstance or its imbalance. We are made to bring in the balance and to bring in the alignment and the attunement and to be at peace and at one with each other in unity and in union. That is the power of three: mind, body, and spirit or heart. This is the Holy Trinity. This is union. This is atonement, living in the balance of these in harmony and not at odds with each other or out of balance. I love you all. Namaste. I honor your journey as I honor mine. We can heal through all things. We can rise above the things of this world, and we can be transformed. I am living proof.